Hello friends, neighbors, John, your whiskey neighbor here, and welcome down the Nook. It's Saturday, we're going to shoot some whiskey, and today I've got some finished bourbon and rye. So this company, AMADOR, clearly, everything about them, they say, look, we go and get our whiskey from a pedigreed craft distiller, I think is how they say it, but someone out of Kentucky. And then they bring it over to California and they finish it in various barrels. So we'll talk about this. This is their wheated bourbon. It's finished in Chardonnay casks, and then this is their rye, and it's finished in port. So, you know, if you have any finished bourbon, you know, like Angel's Envy or something, or if you have some Amador, why don't you pour it around and come on back and we'll sip, we'll talk, like, is this a good idea? And specifically, we'll talk about Amador out of California. 3, 4. Well, thanks for coming back. As I said in the opener, you know, this is, what's nice is that it's very clear. We didn't make this whiskey, we found it, we bought it, and we put it in some extra barreling. So this first one we're gonna talk about here is their wheated bourbon. So it's like 20% wheat, and it's finished in a Chardonnay cask. Now, I don't think this is very old. I'll say, you know, this is a classic bottle look. It looks very nice, but when I did a bit of research, it looks like a 3-year-old bourbon, wheated, as I said, like 20% wheat, 15% barley, and the balance in corn. But it says it was, you know, 3 years new oak, and then they brought it over for, you know, 9 to 12 months, so another year in Chardonnay, you know, a white wine cask. So 43% wheated bourbon, 4-year-old. So let's see what it's like, nose and taste. It's actually a nice light fruit, a little bit of apple. There is some, you know, bourbon vanilla, some sweetness, some sugars, a little bit of cinnamon, but it's interesting that I actually got fruit pretty quick on the nose. A bit of apple, maybe a bit of lemon. Yeah, well, the nose is nice. Let's try it on the palate. Cheers. That's a tasty bourbon. It's relaxed. You know, it's maybe being helped by that wheat. There is some spice that comes up in the early finish, but at first I think you get a little bit of cookie dough almost. Like it's sweet and it's got some kind of flavoring going on in there. Maybe a little caramel, a little fudge, that kind of thing. That apple really resides. Like I had it in the nose. I've lost it a bit in the palate. But it's got a bit of fruiting in there, just a light, I'm gonna say some lemon and just some light fruit notes. I'm struggling to say exactly what fruit, but it's pleasant on the palate, nice kind of cookie dough going on, and let's try one more sip and see if I get a different finish. Second sip actually brings, I said I was gonna chase the finish, but it's actually bringing another layer to it, which is nice. Now I get a little nice oak backing. Now I get a little more pastry from that cookie. It's baked down a little bit. It's still very light, approachable, you know, sweet, light fruit. I think this would have a pretty broad appeal, honestly. It's young, it's biting a little bit on the back, it's a little bit alcoholic, but this particular one, it's nice, easy drinking, really. Like for a bourbon, the knock is that back end bitter, back end sour, a little bit of alcohol that, you know, might go away if it just rested a little bit longer. I'd say if I had it open a bit longer, but this bottle's been open actually for a number of months, so it's had time to air out. Good, tasty, nice flavors. I don't know, like the winey influence maybe in the citrus that I'm getting a little bit, maybe the apple too, actually. But it's not a heavy wine influence for me. It's just like a mellowed, sweeter wheat bourbon. It's not gonna change hearts and minds, so maybe 3 3/4. It's just off 3.5. It's nice. So for the second one, and I put it after because of the higher proof and, you know, the stronger flavors, because we're at 92 proof or 46% alcohol. This is a 74% rye, a little bit of corn, I think 11% corn, and the balance in barley. So I was absolutely attracted to this bottle because I had just kind of come off reviewing and tasting Wylam & Green, that port finished rye, which remains an absolute favorite of mine. And so I thought, oh look, here's another port finished rye. 46% is good. And I looked up the details. It's still young. I'm a little bit more okay with younger rye. Just like, boy, what else do I like? I like younger rye. I like younger peated scotch. Almost everything else, I think, benefits with a little bit of age on it. So we'll see how this port finished rye from Amador is. On the nose. Well, it's got quite a bit of bold rye at only 74%. I mean, that's a lot of rye. It's not a barely legal 51, but I expected some of what I'm getting, I guess. I've got classic rye grass, got some lemongrass, got some menthol herbal notes. I expected more fruit already on the nose. When I think of a couple of other port finished ryes I have, really that port seems to speak with the rye, like dark cherry. Here, I'm not getting that. Yeah, I've got some sweetness and then a lot of ryegrass, bread, and those kinds of rye notes. Well, and there a little bit of like a floral note, like almost a polish note, like just a very, very perfumey note, just kind of on the end there. Let's try it on the palate. Cheers. Expect a little more body off that. It drinks a little bit thin, but it's got good rye spice if you're looking for some balance between some hot cinnamon and cracked black pepper and just that spicy, alive rye note. Definitely present here. A little bit now candy apple, a little bit candy fruit, maraschino cherry, not dark, but just a little bit of sweet fruits, sweet candy things. Better try another sip. Cheers. Actually, second sip here didn't bring out a lot more flavors. Maybe more peppering, more spicing, lots of rye note. It's less dill and less menthol on the palate than it was on the nose. I was worried we were just running down that green road, which I can be okay for if I'm going lots of pepper here. Now longer finish, just pepper, spice, burn, alcohol. Oh, and a little bit of tobacco note just right there on the end. Like I like that note, a little bit of that nice sweet tobacco, like not like a cigar before you light it, that sweeter note. I had a bit of that. I will say this one though is a disappointment for me. So while this I think broad appeal, sweet, nice, easy drinking, this is a nice wheated bourbon. This for me, aside from spicy alcohol, just didn't bring home the flavors. It just didn't land. And it could have been, at first, that comparison to such a gorgeous rye, that Wylam & Green. But I had this a few months before this one. I've had this open for a while. And it doesn't resonate with me. So for me, this one is a miss. Even though bottles look sharp, price was okay. It's like $3 1/4. It's not great for me. This one's good. This I would happily pour and sip. I mean, I'll pour this for anybody who comes by, but I'm just saying for my palate, not as strong as this one. Not a bad first entry. I hope to hear a little more about their process and maybe they can put a little age on their releases. Thanks for joining me here this Saturday. Hope you guys are having a good weekend.